welcome. It's time for round 4 of the Season X Championship for Tier 8. This will be full race commentary, but before we get into that, let's have a quick recap of the Drivers' Championship as we go into this round. Carol Piquera led the championship, coming away from Bathurst, 213 points, 53-point lead over Raj Deepak, who had a bit of a disaster on the mountain and was right up there at the front of the race for the longest time, and finished in the end down in 20th. Which cost him dear on the championship, slipped back from first to second. Jeremy Kazantsis was in third place going away from Bathurst. 8th place, pretty good result, gave him 147 points, just 13 points behind Deepak. Gintz Vinteris had a really good result, took the victory at Bathurst, and that dragged him up to 4th place on the Drivers' Championship. Julien Henry from Ardwan Racing was in 5th. Not a good result for him as well, 4th place at Bathurst, so consistent results for the last couple of rounds, means he's got good points. Sabolix Bekes is in 6th place with 137 points, so right behind Julien Henry. Urzo Wolf missed Bathurst, was a non-starter, and as a consequence slipped down the championship table. And Stefan Blay, the 99 Porsche, had a very difficult time at Bathurst. We saw a few times the car get a bit mashed up during the race, finished 17th in the end, so not good points, caused him to slip back. But he's really close to driver just ahead of him, Wolf, with just 2 points in it. Eric Manilius didn't have a good result at Bathurst, took a victory in Spain, but round 1 at Misano was down in 35th. 26 in Bathurst means he's not got quite the points haul he needs to be further up the table. And Nicolas Ariston Ore, 29th in Misano, 2nd in Spain, so gave him some good points, but didn't manage to finish at Bathurst, so that leaves him 10th on the Drivers' Championship table. Looking at the Teams' Championship going into this round, Ardwan Racing in 1st place with 183 points, Team Phantasma Racing behind them with 154, Ben Becker's eSport team. 4th place is WRC FSR Racing, 5th is Visually Impaired Racing, 6th Hexagon Nation, 7th is Pass Sim Racing Team, 8th is Beeswax Racing, and 9th was Rev Sport International. Moving on to conditions for the race, really hot day here in Zandvoort for the next round. Air temperature is 34 degrees, but the track temperature is a blistering 42 degrees. And everybody's big concern is being able to manage the tyres over the duration of the race. Left hand side, which is put under a lot of pressure on this track, are going to get very, very hot indeed, and that'll be the big tester this race. So there we are, let's move on and let's have a look at the action from round 4 at Zandvoort. Okay, they're coming to the end of the formation lap. Whitburn qualified on pole, Nilsson qualified 2nd, Piquera 3rd, Blay was 4th. Deepak, who was spent quite some time on Discord before the race, telling everybody how he was really slow at Zandvoort, qualified down in 9th, not too far from the front. But they're away, the lights have gone green. Whitburn and Nilsson into the first corner. And back in the pack, a little bit of coming together there, see a bit of dust kicked up, going around the first few corners. Between turns 3 and turn 3 is usually where all the trouble happens. The track narrows, and it's happened. A lot of cars coming together. BMW there right in the middle. And look at all the dust and chaos there coming together. Most people are away, but there was definitely a BMW pretty smashed up in the middle of that lot. El Magdoub. Oh, it was Majik. Badly damaged BMW there. That might be into the pits at the end of lap 1. So not a great start there for the BMW. Number 17. So Whitburn leads the race out, qualified on pole. Has already established early a 1.5 second lead over Nilsson before the end of the first lap. Nilsson just coming out as you came behind. Then there's Kazantsis in 3rd place. Deepak, remember, who qualified in 9th, already up to 4th by the end of lap 1. Right on their tail. Oh, what happened there? Big wobble from the Bentley coming out of the final corner. And that That's not great for Whitburn. That was a pretty heavy hit into the barriers there on lap 1. Pointing the wrong way. The whole field is going past. So disaster for Whitburn on the first lap. Oh, and there's another BMW going off. That's the number 16. Is it? It is. That's Kristalidis, who looks to have Team Phantasma. It looks like he had the same sort of problem as Whitburn's carried on. But it looks like the two BMWs, they're going into the pits. So the end of lap 1, 2 BMWs into the pits. Whitburn persevering, but it did look quite a heavy hit. He must surely be carrying damage, Whitburn. But this puts Nilsson in the prime position now. Lead of the race. And into lap 2, and he's already 1.7 seconds clear of Kazantsis in second place. Deepak, who remember can't drive this track, is in third now. Just less than a second behind Kazantsis. As Deepak was moving around a bit strange again, very defensive on Blay. Blay trying to get around the outside, coming into the chicane, but Deepak breaks deep, holds him off. Holds on to that third position. We're under a lot of pressure there from the Porsche, and you can see they're all queued up behind the Audi of Deepak. Coming around the final corner, they must all be on tenterhooks, having watched Whitburn spin out. Audi carrying a lot of speed there down the straight. Blay getting very defensive, pulls over to the right to cover off the inside of turn 1. Beckes remains behind. Everybody else sweeping round behind them. Nice gap opening up for Kazantsis as Deepak has to drive very defensively to keep the Porsche away. But now Blay is having to defend from Beckes, and I think that's giving an opportunity for Deepak to start to move away slightly. Around the tricky turn 9. A lot of trail braking required for turn 9 to stabilise the car and try and carry as much speed as possible. So Deepak trying to pull away from the Porsche but struggling, and not sure why the Beckes is flashing there in the BMW. Flashing to distract another driver is not allowed in Apex Online Racing, so needs to be careful. Or he can end up with a report into the stewards. Considered unsportsmanlike. But it's real nip and tuck from Deepak down all the way through to Frank Forrest, really. Frank's just out the back of this slot with 1.2 second gap from Miller, who's just ahead of him. And turn 1 again. Miller here, just on the back of this group, trying to catch the Aston Martin of Alpha Tauri colours of one of the Henrys. Maurice? Matthew Henry. Apologies. Blay up ahead, of course, has a penalty handed down from the stewards. I think it was a 35-second penalty. Desperately trying to keep that BMW behind him. Oh, that was a tap on the back there from Beckes. Manages to recover. I'm sure Beckes was trying to get past the Porsche then, or defend from the BMW behind. But, you know, if you've got the overspeed, you've got to try and make that pass done safely. It's probably difficult for Beckes because he knows the Bentley's, the Porsche's got a 30-second penalty to serve at the pit stop. So he's already technically ahead on the road, but of course Blay will want to try and make the most of the position he's in, because as the field spreads out, it means when he does get that 30-second penalty, he won't drop quite as far down the field. Coming around the final corner again, and despite that tap on the back, the Porsche of Blay has managed to pull away a little bit from Bequez, just behind. A lot of cars get defensive. Bequez trying to have a look down the inside, but he's way too far back. The Aston of Miller, also, of Henri, also took a defensive line, moving out to the right. Oh, a lot of grass caught there from Bequez. That will slow him down all the way down this winding straight. I'll give Blay a good chance to get a little bit more of a gap. It looks like Bequez has recovered well from that mistake. Oh, it's a really tight battle. It's quite difficult for anybody to get past. Challenging track Zandvoort to make a pass. And the gaps are pretty tight all the way down the field, which shows you, it's usually an indication that drivers are caught behind somebody who they're perhaps just a little bit quicker than, but they just can't find their way through. So Blay here is now 1.9 seconds nearly behind Bequez. Behind Deepak, sorry. Bequez, we've seen catch the grass once or twice. One or two small errors. But still is less than half a second behind Blay, just ahead. We're going to have another look down this straight. No, nobody's even having a tuck out. Slight little look there from George in the 868 BMW. But way too far back to do anything about that. I think Miller has Miller slowly driven his way now up into 7th place. Got Frank Forrest behind him. Last week's winner, Vinteris, 555 Audi, 10th position this week. Not having quite as much success as Bathurst. Frank Forrest in what was last week's only Bentley. He's got some company this week, but it didn't go well for Whitburn. Whitburn now into 29th and in and out the pits, maybe waiting to get those repairs done. So that will drop him further down the field. For real challenges, of course, is the weather today is ridiculously hot at Zandvoort. Track temperature well over 40 degrees, and trying to make your tyres last in those temperatures is a real challenge. Oh, and that was Miller off. What did Miller do? Didn't look like there was anybody in contact with him, so just a mistake. Caught the grass. So he was ahead of Frank Forrest. Dropped down to 10th. That's lovely. You're not supposed to cut the chicane quite like that, Mr. Miller. But he's trying to pull away and recover. Got Becky behind him in the number 8 Lamborghini. So maybe the problem that Miller had at Bathurst, where he kept having little mishaps to put him right down the field, and is it rearing its head again? He's moving up the field, and then we just caught there some sort of error that put him on the grass, moves him back down again, losing those positions. Let's put Frank Forrest though up into 7th place. He's got a bit of a gap to close up to the back of George. Got Willis here as well in the 280 Aston, trying to close in on Benjamin in the 991 Aston. Just 0.3 gap. You can see there's Miller, Becky, Benjamin and Willis. Another tight group. A little bit more spread out than those ahead. Meanwhile out front, Nilsson into 6th lap. Just coming through into the chicane. Izansis in 2nd now, 3.2 seconds behind. So Nilsson is building that gap up slowly. And after the initial bit of pressure on Deepak in 3rd, who, remember everybody, can't drive this track to save his life. The gap for Deepak to the 2nd place, Kazantsis, is 2.9 seconds. But he's now cleared a Blay in 4th by over 2 seconds. So I think there was a lot of distractions for players, under a lot of pressure, including a little tap, little nibble from the BMW Beckers. I think that's allowed Deepak to move away. Blay is trying to close back up though. Pulled it back to 1.8 seconds. So Deepak needs to keep on his toes. Make sure he stays away from the Porsche. A lot of grass. Just as I'm saying that, commentator's curse. See a lot of dust kicked up in the air. So Deepak must have caught the grass there, going between turns 2 and 3. If you catch the inside of the curb on your right hand side on turn 2, it really bounces the car off to the left, and it's quite easy then to end up catching the grass. The minute you're out there, you lose traction and speed. So now Blaze within 1.3 seconds of Deepak following that small mistake. Beckers meanwhile starting to drop behind a little bit. Maybe his head's dropped a little bit, having tried so long to get past. And behind, it looks like at some point Frank Forrest got past George, split the BMWs. A little bit of damage to the rear of the Bentley from what I could see then. So the front settling down. Nilsson now 4 seconds clear of Kazantsis, who's 4 seconds clear of Deepak. Deepak slowly seeing Blay come back at him again. Gap just over a second. So the front 8 places or so slowly shuffling around. Just moving up 1 or 2 places, then moving back again. Now Frank Forrest having a good look at the back of Becker's BMW. Frank now just 0.2 seconds behind the BMW Beckers. Taking this would put him through to 5th, and he wouldn't have too far to go to be catching the Porsche of Blay. See just a glimpse of Vinteris 555 Audi in the background there, who's now moved into P8. So slowly stalking his way back up the field, Vinteris, last week's winner at Bathurst. Oh, a bit too wide there though, Vinteris. Caught you just the wrong moment. Catch any of that sand off the track and you will lose a lot of speed straight away. Vinteris really wanting to close that gap up there to the back of George. Get onto the back of this group. Beckett running in 11th place. In a bit of no man's land. Behind Miller, 1.3 seconds. Got a moderately comfortable gap of 1.5 seconds to Benjamin behind. Benjamin coming under a little bit more pressure from Willis. 0.7, but these two have been following each other for quite a while now. Now look at our hero Murphy. Down in 24th position at the moment. Looks to be a lot closer than 1.4 seconds to that Mercedes, but yeah, he's definitely closing on that Mercedes. We've got blue flags being waved, so if somebody's already a lap down, I would be that BMW, I wonder, because that isn't Tucker, or is it Tucker? Tucker's in the pits. I don't know how he ended up there because he wasn't in the pits a minute ago. Maybe he went in and the computer didn't catch up. Does that all the time. Yeah, Murphy now is just 0.6 of a second behind the 888 Mercedes of Diesel. But that bonnet's looking a bit flappy. on the Aston Martin. So another car carrying damage. And it looks like these cars, I think, the blue flags are for these cars because that is Becchia just behind who's in P11. So wherever's gone wrong for Murphy with that damage, it's put him nearly a lap down. Yeah, a lap down from James onwards. Another Porsche 983. Now, I actually have a 987, but it doesn't look like that because the 987 is a Boxster. Too much detail. Nilsson leads us still, first place. Gap now over Kazantsis is 4.6 seconds. These leaders just tapping out a pace, keeping consistent lap times, because these gaps have just slowly but steadily increased between each of the drivers. Deepak just coming into the chicane. The gap now to Blay behind Deepak is 2.4 seconds, and Deepak will be aware of that penalty that Blay has to serve in the pits. So he'll know that technically Blay is not a factor. He'll drop the way that they're matching pace as Blay does get defensive going into turn 1, keep Beckers away from him. Means that it'll be nigh on impossible for Blay to make up those 30 seconds because their lap times are very, very similar. So tall order would require a big mistake from Deepak. Beckers still stuck behind this Porsche of Blay. Now 11 laps in, still can't find a way through. And still coming under pressure from Frank Forrest behind. George is still on the back of this little group as well. So you're really going to hope that somebody can get a bit desperate, make a bit of a wild lunge to try and get through. Patience is the key. George is pretty much in contact with this group, just 0.7 behind Frank Forrest, and then Vinteris still trying to slowly close up that gap. It's 1.4 second gap he's trying to make up. He's within touching distance. It looks like made him come down a little bit. Miller is also just down the back, trying to get back in there. Willis as well, still tracking Benjamin, trying to find a way through. He's got the BMW of Al Magdoub getting a little closer. And just down the back of this group, Martins in the blue and red, number 81, Aston Martin. And it looks like quite a gap really. From Martins down to Koenig. Koenig under a lot of pressure. Wow, Audi went a bit wild there from Piquera. A lot of damage on the Audi as well. If it was behind me and sliding around like that, I'd be a bit concerned. A car with damage and a driver who's got a bit wild. In fact, that might explain why it is where it is. I'm just in the background. I may well have decided that discretion was the better part of valour. Piquera clearly pushing very hard. And possibly pushing too hard. I may have decided to let him through and not risk myself. So the Audi of Piquera here really having a close look at Koenig, trying to find a way through. Through chicane. into the 14th lap now, and we completed 13. And the gap still pretty consistent at the front. Nilsson still 4.5 seconds. And then big gap to Deepak. Deepak must have made a mistake. His 8-second gap now. Oh, and Piquet dives into the pits. Maybe a little bit early there to be boxing. Or into the pits he goes. That relieves the pressure on Koenig. So up front, Deepak must have made an error somewhere to be dropped suddenly so far behind Kazantsis. The pressure really off now for the lead two. And that is Husjak behind the Audi of Deepak. Now Husjak is a lap down. He needs to be careful. It looks like he's trying to unlap himself, but it is third place car. And to be honest, if you're a lap down with the equivalence in pace that we all have, it's not something you're really going to be able to make up over the course of the race. Deepak coming round for the final corner, which has claimed a few victims. Group of cars, is that will be Blay in the background, won't it, with everybody behind him. Blay, Beckers, Frank Forrest, George, the same stack that's been there all the way through. There's Jack, stuck in the middle really. If he goes through, he'll get blue flags. Don't think the trailing group with Blay is close enough yet to give Husjak the blue flags. But it'll really help Deepak to keep that Audi behind him as a buffer. And I wasn't sure then if he was letting it through. Yes, he has. He's decided to let Husjak through, which is a brave choice, because in doing that, he has allowed those trailing cars to get a little bit closer. So he really needs Husjak to hustle now. Oh! That was a disaster. Looks like Husjak may have lost it in the corner. Spun right in front of Deepak, who caught him. And now the whole pack is right on his rear bumper. So, yeah, definitely letting Husjak through has cost Deepak. But there's an overshoot from the Porsche, which was defending really, really hard from Beckers, who was coming at the inside. Porsche's gone well wide, so Blay's way out of it now. Dropped right down the field. It's uncorked the bottle on Beckers, Frank Forrest and George. Vinteris as well will be through. Blay has rejoined, but drops down from fourth. Just seemed to carry the brake in too deep into the chicane. Went into the gravel trap. It's now behind Beckier, so that'll be 12th place. 10th place. It all settles out. So, yeah, behind Beckier. So, bit of a melee. Blay had defended for so long into this race. Nearly 25 minutes it's been defended, and just makes all really kicked off when Husjak and he's pitted as well as Deepak. Deepak's in the pits, electing to get that damage sorted out straight away possibly. But sometimes it's worth doing a lap or two after an incident like that and figuring out, is the damage bad enough? Because he's dropping all the way down the field now, Deepak, when he gets his repairs done. You really got to make a call about, is the damage so bad, or can I live with it? And being able to drive around damage can sometimes give you a massive advantage in races. Certainly for this race, I got a little tap in that big mass pile up at the start of the race, but it was only 3 seconds of damage, so I turned repairs off, didn't get that fixed, but saved yourself 3 seconds, which is sometimes quite difficult to make up on the racetrack. So Deepak comes out, and again has just disappeared right down the field. But we are rapidly approaching the pit stop phase of the race, so there's every possibility that he'll move back up the field when everybody else boxes. Becker's now boxes the next lap, so he is definitely into the pitting phase of the race. Beckes knows that he's well clear now of Blay. Blay's got that 30-second penalty, plus drop down the field, so Blay is completely out of the picture. I mean, held on for the first half of the race, and everybody is piling into the pits at once. And I'm not sure about that pit stop there. Is that Frank? Who's kind of gone a bit of an angle there. Yes, it is. He was about a 45-degree angle. I think that may have cost him some time for his pit stop. And also, it really depends who's elected to have repairs. Just like last week, when Vinteris made the jump in the pits over Miller by not getting repairs done, or certainly getting a much faster pit stop. So the 25 BMW Beckes down off the jacks and pulls away ahead of everybody. Nobody else is moving. So Beckes comes out. I think on top of that, the Aston Martin's away. And still, Frank Forrest is still not moving. So he's losing places. Vinteris is still out on track. So has not boxed yet. Oh, there's a lot of damage on that Audi. If Vinteris does get repairs, I think he will disappear from the lead of this race as well. He's in third at the moment, but looking at the way the parts are flapping around on that car, I think when he boxes, he may be there for some time. Nilsson. Is that Frank Forrest being lapped? It is. So that's how much time Frank Forrest has spent in the pits. He's boxed, he's come out and rejoined the track. He's been lapped by Nilsson. And there's no way that Nilsson is going to spend 1.5 minutes in the pits. So yeah, big loss there for Frank Forrest with those what must have been repairs on the car in the pits. Of course, the advantage of starting right at the front for Nilsson is 0 damage. Same will be true for Kazantsis, getting away at the front of the field, not involved in any of the incidents behind. We'll get really quick pit stops. Vinteris, I don't think will be having that luxury. Definitely won't be having that luxury now. Makes a bit of a mistake there coming out the corner. The car spears itself across the track and he's come to a grinding halt from third position. He needs to try and, if you teleport back to the pits, it's game over. You'll be locked out of the car for over 2 minutes and right down the back of the field. So but he's not moving. He really needs to try and get that car back to the pits, no matter how slow it is. It's always worth trying, and you should never give up because you can always try and get back into the race. But he's still not moving. So from third, he's just tumbling and tumbling down the field. He's already showing in technically in 7th place as people go past him. I mean, you need to bear in mind that I'll be going past you next. It's picked it up. It's got it moving again. Maybe he's waiting for a gap in traffic. But that's a very, very long wait. Would have been faster, I think, to drive down the grass. He's pulling over to one side. He's probably got really bad handling problems. You know, very often end up with the suspension or steering broken. So, trying to do the right thing. Keep everybody else's way. No need to ruin everybody else's race, especially as he'll be kicking himself because it looked like it was a driver error. Just the car just caught grip at the wrong moment and launched itself into the wall. He's pulling right over to the right to try and stay out of the way of drivers coming through. So that really is Vinteris out of this race. Nilsson, sorry, as Boxer has returned to the track. And that puts him behind Kazantsis, who stayed out, but obviously not for long. He had a good lead. Martins has sneaked in there into second place, but I think Martins will need to box as well. Which will, when that happens, it will return Nilsson to the lead of the race. Just a quick check in on myself. So by about the midway point of this race, we're into lap 18. So just about the halfway point, and I've made my way up from 26th to 16th. But Willis, what have you done, Willis? You boxed, but you've got to stop, go 30. Speeding in the pits is usually the crime. So I don't know if this would have been on the way in or on the way out. On the way out, it's usually an accident if you make a slip and change gear. If you change the second, the pit limiter comes off straight away. And it's very, very easy to pick up a stop-go, especially if you're trying to be clever just before the pit limit exit line. But usually the most common one is the way into the pits. And a lot of drivers have stated they're looking for the pit lane board, which I don't think is the right way to go about it. What you really want to be doing when you're pitting in is establishing in practice a brake marker that you'll use, so you know to slam the brakes on and activate the pit limiter. You might slow down perhaps a little bit ahead of a line, but losing half a second going into the pits is a hell of a lot better than a 30-second stop-go. Willis catching a lot of grass there, but 13th following the pit stops, but he's going to have to go in again and wait, and that's really going to put him right back down the field again. Really going to hurt him. Oh, there's a stopped. That'll be Vinteris there, pulled over at the side, waiting for a gap to try and get into the pits. So did eventually get the Audi back. It's already 2 laps down on the leaders. A disaster for Vinteris there when he went into the wall. Finally makes it back to the pits for repairs. Hopefully he'll get back out on track to see the race through to the end. Willis pulls in to serve his penalty. Meanwhile, Martins, as Kazantsis has also boxed and returned to the track. Gap now to Nilsson is 3.2 seconds. If the computer has sorted itself out. Martins pulls into the pits, and that will restore Nilsson to the lead of a race. And barring anything going wrong, that'll be all the way to the finish. I would have thought. We're only about halfway through this race, but Nilsson looking very comfortable for a win at the moment. Kazantsis just in the background there, crossing the line. It's about the closest he's got for a while. It's 3.6 seconds. And it won't be until all the pit stops really settle down that we'll be able to see exactly who is going to be in third. Deepak pitted quite early on. And it was unclear about whether he was going to get repairs or not. So we'll soon see if it was tactical genius or a complete boo-boo. But he's 10 seconds behind Diesel, so he's about 15 seconds down. Looking at that, Martins may be a threat to Deepak, depending on where he returns on track. But Deepak's already started the lap, so I have to figure out from... I think Deepak is just ahead. Not by much, so I think Deepak will return into third position when the pit stops all shake out. Diesel will be yet to stop and will also drop out the picture. Yeah, so Bekes returns into fourth place. The gap now to Bekes behind Deepak, just in the background there is 1.6 seconds. Diesel is the odd car out here that's yet to pit. Diesel making the brave choice of the Mercedes, which is renowned for killing people at random. But he's still alive at the moment. Although we did see the Audi kill somebody at random when it killed Vinteris just a short while ago. Vinteris still trying to get repairs. Yeah, very depressing. Let's hope he rejoins the track. Piquera still being a bit leery in the Audi there. Every time we cut to him, he seems to be lurching from one side of a track to the other. He's trying to catch the Aston Martin of Benjamin 991. Be very unpopular, Benjamin, stealing a 991 number for Aston Martin and not allowing it to be on a Porsche. Well, it does look like Piquera's got the pace there over the Aston. He's closed that gap in very, very quickly. It's just whether he can keep it under control when he comes through. He's pushing all over the track. So somehow despite the coming together with Husjak and boxing for repairs, perhaps a little too hasty, Deepak, remember everybody, he can't drive this track to save his life. Deepak's still in third. So, given his position as second in the championship, it's looking good for Deepak on this race. For points haul. Carol Piquera is in the crazy Audi. But Carol's lead over Deepak is quite substantial. So as long as Piquera can finish, I think, inside that top 10, I don't think Deepak may overtake him. We'll find out after the race when we do a championship update. But Piquera's really one of those really now where you need to look at the big view for the Drivers' Championship. It's not worth risks. Deepak's in third, Piquera's in sixth, so there's only 3 positions difference between them, so it won't be that big a haul of points. So from a strategic point of view, Piquera's safe to sit behind Benjamin and not push his luck too far. I think Deepak may 15-second gap following that collision with Husjak, maybe a gap too far. I don't think it's a big ask to close 15 seconds when they're all very much on the same pace. So may have to settle for third as Piquera starts to look to the left and to the right of the Aston. But that look-in may have cost a bit of time. Miller has somehow ended up now in 15th. I don't know how he's managed that. Because with the pit stops, he's ended up behind a number of cars he was ahead of, I think. Because certainly the... Oh, catch me just the right moment there. Just checking out the gravel track. Myself, the 833 Beeswax Racing, was definitely behind Miller before the pit stop phase. And got out there in front. I'm going to claim I've got cold tyres here coming out of pits. Just getting them warmed up. The gravel. Trying to catch up with Frank Forrest and Koenig. Meanwhile, with Piquera over this, he's really trying hard to get past the Aston of Benjamin. Try and have a look as they go towards the chicane. Super close to the Aston. The Aston getting a bit of drive really towards the chicane. Managed to get enough of a car length over the Audi that it wasn't possible to have a look at the inside. Meanwhile, just behind the Ferrari of myself, 833 Beeswax Racing, starting to slowly close up on the back of Frank Forrest. Koenig just ahead of us. Kara coming down the start-finish straight behind Benjamin, but too far back there to have a look down into T1. Frank Forrest breathing down the neck of Koenig into T1, didn't make it work. But the way that these two are fighting is allowing the Ferrari to close up on the back. And contact has been made, I think. So, a couple of close battles. Piquet is still trying to find a way through on Benjamin. Not too long to go now in this race. Probably only around 20 more minutes. Becker's getting closer and closer to Deepak. Now that Blaze out of the way in the Porsche, Blaze dropped down to 19th. Having had that mishap going into the chicane and then boxing and serving that penalty has pushed him right down the field. 6 seconds behind Viking Rat, the other Beeswax racer. And there is Becky just ahead. I didn't quite see what happened there. Becky was just ahead of Deepak, but Deepak was even going really slow through T1, and Becky's closed right up on the rear bumper. Blue flags being waved for Becker's in the Lamborghini. Becky 8th place, so the leader's lapping up to 8th place, so quite a difference in pace. Oh, Becky well wide, well wide. Don't be careful coming back on track. Manages to avoid the two leaders coming through, but Becky, big mistake there through the gravel trap. Looks like he's recovered and managed to keep going. Beckers is trying very, very hard now to catch Deepak. This might be the big opportunity. Now, often is perhaps your best hope at Zandvoort is to get traffic that when traffic's being caught is something that can interfere with the race to at least present an opportunity. Somebody well wide there in the background. I couldn't see quite who that was. It was Becky again. Becky's having a lot of handling problems here towards the end of the race. He's off track a number of times. So currently in 8th place, but if he keeps this up, he will be falling backwards. Becky's too far back this time to have a look at Deepak. You can see how in the background Becky, I think, is coming back. Is the only Aston Martin? Oh, there's two almost identical cars. That's enough to put you off, isn't it? Teammates. Yeah, Beckier and Kashmerek, past sim racing team, running identical liveries just to try and keep you on your toes. So apologies to Beckier if it wasn't him that went off track before. It's hard to tell the two apart. But there's a blue flags will be coming as this Aston comes up from behind. You see the lights being flashed. Please get out of the way, because I've got somebody right behind me I'm trying to stay away from. So, yeah, the Benjamin does not want to allow the opportunity for Piquet to get past from the Lamborghini, getting in the way. So the Lambos goes very wide and almost stops going into the chicane. Benjamin would have been desperate to try and get through as fast as possible. Got Martins there, just going past as well. Kazmerek. Sort of start finish straight. Everybody's pushing hard. Tucker now just behind El Magdoub. BMW versus BMW. Heading up towards T1. We did see Tucker having a bit of a spin early on in the race. He's got a bit of damage to the front of that BMW. So currently back down in 10th. Frank Forrest there in the background trying to close up. Frank's got through on Koenig. And then I tucked up behind Koenig, and I struggled to find a way round on this track. That was on lap 27 that I caught with Koenig. trying to pressure the Aston to try and get past. There's Miller behind me. It's 3.5 seconds. And I can confirm that over the duration of the race, it was Miller just kept closing and closing because I don't know if I was distracted. Koenig just wasn't quick enough. You see the gap. Frank Forrest already is 2 seconds down the road. So Koenig putting up a valiant defence for definitely the second half of the race. Carrot still looking for a way past Benjamin. I don't think it's going to happen. Benjamin starting to increase that gap now. Out at the front, Nilsson into his 29th lap now to complete 28. Still over 5 seconds clear of Kazantsis in second place. The real danger now for the leaders being catching traffic, either slowing them down or accidentally coming together if not paying attention. Kazantsis gets through on the Porsche of Trupiana. Deepak a bit further behind now. Like we said, not really able to make an impression on the front two after that mishap with Uzjak. 22 seconds now the gap. I think he's fallen back a little bit, if anything. Becker's just 1.3 seconds off the back of Deepak. Not close enough to do an attack, so he's going to have to push a bit harder to try and get on the back of the Audi if he's to have a go at all, but possibly maybe settling for fourth place if he can't catch. He's been trying to catch Deepak for the entire race. Benjamin still under pressure from Piquera. Coming up on one of the many BMWs in this field. Who's in a good position to pull over on the straight and let the leaders through. Benjamin playing a very defensive line, forcing Piquera around the outside of T1. So no way through. And then it's very much one line now through turns 2 to 3. And then all the way down the straight to the wide sweeping turn. So Benjamin, if you can get through T1, you've usually got your line defended all the way through to halfway around the lap. Tucker still trying to close that gap in on El Magdoub. Less than a second now. Frank Forrest closing in. See how still tucked in behind Koenig for the Beeswax Racing 833, but Miller is now just 1.2 seconds away. Closed in 2 seconds in just a few laps. And Frank Forrest is now 3.5 seconds away, so definitely felt a little bit like Koenig may have been the cork in the bottle there. We're all trying to get past. Front, Becky has now got himself together, closed up on the back of Martins. Look at that, nose to tail now for Benjamin Piquera, Martins, and then Becchia. And there's a gap of nearly 9 seconds to the El Magdoub group. And now it's Miller, Beeswax and Koenig all together. Into the 31st lap now. 30 laps completed. Not too long to go in this race. El Magdoub doing just enough. He's now 1.4 seconds clear of Tucker. So depressing for me on the Sunday practice race. I had the pace of El Magdoub, but not for the actual race. Stuck behind Koenig. just 0.1 of a second. I'm right on the tail there on the last sector of the Aston, trying to get through. Just Zandvoort, not a great track for giving you good opportunities for passing. So more a test in many ways of consistency. We've got a back marker here involved in things. Is it Kashmir? I think it is, yeah, it is. Kashmir getting the blue flags. Catching quite a bit of gravel as well at the same time. So here's the chance there on the straight. He's getting the blue flags, but didn't pull over on the straight to let the cars a lap up go down. Frank Forrest had a little look there on the inside of Tucker, but didn't too far back to make a go. Kashmirik's still in there. Still super tight between Koenig, 833 Beeswax and Miller. McDoob now trying to make use that advantage of that back marker that's between him and the chasing cars to try and pull away. Oh, he's gone very, very wide again, Kashmirik. Tucker, I think, may have to take a very defensive line there to make sure he didn't get clonked by the Lambo as it rejoined. Just cut back just a little too late, but this may have given Frank Forrest the opportunity. He's trying to get round, coming up towards the chicane. The BMW is looking a little bit loose there. Into the chicane, and the Frank Forrest isn't in a good position there. Might get a better drive out of the chicane, try and carry that round into the final corner, and what you want to try and do really is get a good launch out the final corner to give you a chance down the start-finish straight. Oh, he's gone really wide. Could that be it? Tucker went very, very wide then. He has. He's lost too much speed. Frank Forrest pounced straight away. He's up the inside. He's definitely got the corner for T1. He'll stay over to the right. He actually doesn't even need to too much. Tucker's too far back. So that's Frank Forrest through on Tucker as he made a mistake in the final corner. Went too wide and ended up touching the gravel. Meanwhile, Koenig is now closing in on the back of a Lamborghini. He's getting more blue flags. So it's all coming together for these 5 cars in the last few laps. Out front, Nilsson now nearly 6 seconds clear of Kazantsis. He was 20 seconds from Kazantsis down to Dipak. And Beckes is 1.6 seconds. I think Beckes just can't find a way through. Bentley there of Whitburn. Remember Whitburn at the start of the race just pulling over to let the leaders through. I may have a problem there, Whitburn. He's going very, very slowly. Three seconds is the gap now. Frank Forrest to El Magdoub, but he's got nothing between him and the BMW, and he looks a hell of a lot less than 3 seconds now. Frank pushing very hard in the Bentley towards the end of the race. Now it's just 0.8. Magdoub must have made a mistake there at some point in that lap. He's flashing his lights for some reason. I don't know who's flashing his lights at. Does it say hello to the cameras? How did he know we'd be watching? So he's coming around the last corner on start finish straight. Dives over to the right to take a very defensive line. Pulls back over to the left. Frank Forrest is up the inside. They're alongside each other. Oh, and he just swept in there, El Magdoub. I'm not sure. Maybe the stewards have to look at that one. But El Magdoub spun right round. He's on the grass and spinning his tyres. And the Bentley's trying to recover. He's on the grass. Oh, he's going really slow there. He's on the brakes. And everybody's piled up behind him. Beeswax is into the wall. Everybody else pulls away, but that was the 833 car. Ended up in the wall there. I don't know what was going on with Frank Forrest. But he caused a huge traffic jam behind. And the Ferrari recovers. Well, there's a lot of heavy damage on the front of that car. There's only a handful of laps to go. So where does that Tucker? I think Tucker slipped through all of that chaos there. El Magdoub has also slipped right down the field. Now down in 14th. The Beeswax car that was right behind Koenig is now 15th. Miller came through. Oh, is that's Frank there off to the side. Don't know what happened there. Maybe he's got damage. Well, I don't think he was hit in all that incident. But he's now behind Miller, so Frank Forrest has also dropped right down the field, now down to 12th. So real chaos here on the last couple of laps. So that's all turned out with Tucker, who didn't do anything wrong. They were all spinning. He managed to slip through the middle of it in one piece. But behind Tucker, it was Koenig, I think, got through as well. So Koenig ended up in 10th. It's got my number 10, Aston Martin, who's last. So Henri there. I don't know what happened to Henri there in the number 10 Aston, but last in the race. So Koenig ended up 10th. Miller did drive into the back of the Ferrari. It was one of the factors where the Ferrari ended up in the wall. So Miller does appear to have slowed quite a bit, possibly got damage himself. He's in 11th. 2-second gap over George in the BMW. I think it was right at the back of everything and just probably watched it all unfold. El Magdoub is trying to close in now on George. He got tipped around at the start of it. And Frank Forrest now is in 14th place. Still not sure. He seems to be going quite slowly, does Frank Forrest. And the Beeswax Racing 833 car, I can assure you, was handling like a defective shopping trolley at this point, and did not want to turn through any corners. And that's allowing Husjak to close up. Husjak dropped out of the race really halfway through. Did feature early on, and now he's in 16th. But it's only a 4.6 second gap, and he's only like 2 or 3 laps to go before the end of the race. So lots of action down in the middle of the pack. Meanwhile, out front, Nilsson easily clears since the end of lap 1, when Whitburn spun up and Nilsson went through to take the lead. It's been a quiet night. No action at all for Nilsson. Probably the most exciting thing to deal with will be passing back markers. He's had a constant, steady lead over Kazantsis, who's in 2nd place. And Kazantsis as well, apart from being unable to catch Nilsson, has been well clear of the rest of the field. Deepak was 20 odd seconds, but it's at least over Assetto, because you can see the timing clock isn't updated for quite some time. So big gap down to 3rd place for Deepak. Beckes definitely appears to, 30 seconds now is the gap between the leaders and Deepak. I'd say Beckes' head has dropped. He was less than a second for quite some time, but now it's 2-second gap, and he needs to perhaps pay more attention behind him. Benjamin has now closed in. Piquera looks to have slightly given up on trying to get through on Benjamin. He was trying really hard for many, many laps. 2-second gap, and he's actually got to look behind himself as well. Now Martin's right on his bumper. Just a couple of laps to go. Also in the mix with these is Becchia in the number 8 Lamborghini for Pass Sim Racing Team. Tucker was the big winner really in that big massive mix-up just a couple of laps ago. He came through now in 9th place in the 77 BMW. Koenig again a big winner in that mishap. He's comfortably in 10th. He must be worried about the Henri behind him. He just keeps having a look every lap. And where he is, he's got a 5-second gap. No, he's got a 3.4 second gap on Miller as Koenig. And if I could do it, I'd keep Henri there as well as a buffer between me and Miller. I'm not sure if Miller was feeling sheepish though, but does seem to have slowed a little bit. 3.4 seconds gap. He was right on Koenig and myself very quickly, but not pushing as hard now, I think. Possible it was carrying damage, but this is allowing George to close up on Miller. George now in 12th, 868 BMW, just 0.7 behind. El Magdoub, who was one of the losers in the incident, is in 13th. Frank Forrest, who was possibly the centre of attention, is down 6 seconds behind El Magdoub now in 14th, and the wonky shopping trolley that is the Ferrari 833. Look at me try and get around the corner there. That just illustrates how badly the handling was. I've got Husjak right on my bumper, but I'm not sure if this is almost the last lap. There you go, it is the last lap. Nilsson wins. Kazantsis was second. Deepak was third. Bekes fourth. We're just trying to get across the line as I desperately try and hold Husjak back on the last lap, just to try and hold on to something. 15th place is not what I expected when I was 13th, with just a couple of laps to go, and it all felt quite comfy. Into the last corner, and I can confirm that what happened was I turned in and I had to get off the throttle quickly, or I was not going to make the corner. Unfortunately, I don't know if that caught out Husjak, but he had a bit of a spin, caught the wall, but at least he managed to get across the line. So yeah, not a great end to the race. And there you go. Let's have a look at the official results then from round 4 of Season X for Tier 8. Elias Nilsson in the number 84 McLaren did a comfortable victory. Led from lap 1 really all the way through to the end after Whitburn spun off. Clear by quite a number of seconds from Jeremy Kazantsis from Team Phantasma Racing, another McLaren in second place, number 28. Raj Deepak, who assured us all he was really bad at this track and wouldn't do very well at all, finished in third in the Audi R8 and number 95. Zabolix Bekes of Bekes Esports, a racing team in the BMW, number 25, finished in fourth. Adam Benjamin, 991, Aston Martin, finished fifth. Carol Piquera, who was really pushing hard to get past Benjamin for the longest time in the 92 Audi R8, finished in sixth place. Matthias Martins in the 81 Aston Martin was 7th. Kamil Bekia of Pass Sim Racing Team in the Lamborghini number 8 finished in 8th place. Mike Tucker, number 77 BMW M4, was in 9th, and Nicola Koenig of the 696 Aston Martin was in 10th. Other notable finishers: Sherlin George for WRC FSR Racing in 868 was 12th. FSR Frank Forrest from WRC FSR Racing, the other WRC FSR Racing car, finished in 14th, so not a bad finish for that team really. Two cars pretty close to each other. Myself, Beeswax Racing, and number 833 came in 15th place. Just 2 places behind me was Viking Rat, the other Beeswax Racing driver. Moving into the second half of the field, Julien Henry from Ardwen Racing finished in 24th from number 80 Aston Martin. Right behind him from Visually Impaired Racing was Blind Guy Morphy, also an Aston Martin. Down in 29th was Nick Kristalidis from Team Phantasma Racing. Right behind him was Matthew Henry in Ardwen Racing, just down in 30th, so a big drop from Matthew. I'm sure he was a lot further up the field to begin with. Non-finishers this week was Vinteris. We saw him have a massive accident in the 555 Audi R8 and was stuck at the side of the road. Eric Manias, another Audi 17, didn't finish. Plus Arestonore 974 Audi. I did witness on a bit of a looked like he may have had a disconnect because the cars just suddenly flew off the track. And Carlos Delgado, the number 72 Audi, is also a non-finisher this week. So let's have a look at the results for the Teams Championship. Carl Piquera does hold on to the lead despite that 6th place finish here tonight at Zandvoort. He's got 272 points, a 33-point lead over Raj Deepak, who's in 2nd place with a 3rd place finish tonight, giving him a good haul of points, keeps him in the fight. Jeremy Kazantsis for Team Phantasma Racing, again finished 2nd, so that gave him a good haul of points. He's now just 4 points behind Deepak. Sabolix Bekes for Bekes Esport, the racing team, he's got 209 points, so just off the first 3 with 26 points behind. Julien Henry from Ardwen Racing is in 5th with 146, so a big drop in points there. So a lot of work to do for Julien and everybody behind him to try and catch up with those first 4 drivers. Gins Vinteris did drop out tonight, so that will have cost him, so he dropped back down the table to 6th. Elias Nilsson got a good result, took victory tonight at Zandvoort, so that's propelled him up to 7th place. Stefan Blay in the 99 Porsche, I've seen him struggling again. He struggled again last week at Bathurst. He remains though in 8th place on the championship table. Mike Tucker, the number 77 BMW, has got 116 points, just 1 point behind Stefan Blay, so all to play for next round out at Suzuka. And Urza Wolf didn't race again for Zandvoort, has now missed 2 rounds, so 2 strong results in the first 2 rounds, but drops down to 10th in the Drivers' Championship. And if they don't turn up next week, could well drop outside the top 10 altogether. Looking at the Teams Championship, Team Phantasma Racing moved to the top of the table. Jeremy Kazantsis and Nick Christalidis, 244 points, move ahead of Becker's Esport Racing Team. Sababalix Becker's got 209 points, 35-point gap now. But Sababalix is racing on his own. Adwin Racing, the Henri brothers, Matthew and Julien, have got 191 points, 18 points behind Becker's Esport team. And WRC FSR Racing with Sherlin George and FSR Frank Forrest, they're in 4th place. Haas Sim Racing Team, Camille Becchia and Sergins Kazmerik are in 5th place. Rev Sport International with Adam Benjamin are in 6th. Visually Impaired Racing with Blind Guy Morphy and Paul Whitburn are in 7th. Beeswax Racing in 8th. Steve Bezic, myself, and Viking Rat down in 8th. Hexagon Nation, Casper Bjork on his own, is down in 9th, rounding out the table. That concludes all the action from Zandvoort this week. Next round will be at Suzuka, and let's hope we have a slightly cleaner first lap and a slightly cleaner race all round, and see some good racing. We'll catch you for that round. There'll be a live stream of the race from my perspective, and then hopefully another race commentary to follow shortly afterwards. Thanks for watching, hope you've enjoyed. Let's help out the old YouTube and the AOR publicity by please leave a like and subscribe if you've enjoyed the show. I'll catch you next time out. Thanks for watching, cheerio.